The people who are actually closed-minded in American politics are the people that love to preach about the certainty of science when regards to our climate, but ignore the absolute fact that science has proven that life begins at conception.
They call us crazy, but no one, no other organization in the world has spent more millions over more decades to keep Americans safe.
The fact is, we're run by either very foolish or very stupid people.
Real peace comes from the Marine Corps, not the Peace Corps.
Make sure that we take back the nation, take back the White House, get the Senate, and put in place conservative principles.
Just smattering of the good times you might have missed if you were watching CPAC today at the Conservative, if I can speak tonight, Political Action Conference. Andrew, it's interesting who was there, who wasn't there, and also a little bit of what was said.
Well, if you like conservative talk, Rich, CPAC is the place to be. Folks are discussing all sorts of issues of importance to conservatives. Here are just a few of the panels they're holding. Beating Obamacare, your handbook for surviving the new health care law. Get it? Surviving the health care law. Should we shoot all the consultants now? There was, of course, the tribute to Andrew Breitbart. Also, stop this. Threats, harassment, intimidation, slander, and bullying from the Obama administration. The United Nations versus the United States. The end run around the American way of life. Reversing Obamacare and reaching minority voters. The language that works. How I learned to stop worrying and love plastic water bottles, fracking, genetically modified food, and big gulp sodas. Also, return to order from a frenzied economy to an organic Christian Chesapeake society. That seems like a very specific one. And finally, Trump the race card. Are you sick and tired of being called a racist and you know you're not one? And if you want an idea of where the conservative movement's head is at right now, just take a look at who's speaking. You got Ted Cruz, Sarah Palin, Scott Walker, Rick Santorum all invited to speak. Governors Chris Christie and Bob McDonnell, no invite for you. Rich?
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. And again, you make those up. Those are real panel conversations. All right, let's bring the panel on this. Tom Doherty's loving this. He's former advisor to Governor George Pataki and now a partner with Mercury. Dominic Carter, of course, political journalist and author. And Evan Thies, who's the founder of Brooklyn Strategies and a former aide to Hillary Clinton, as well as Andrew Cuomo. All right, Tom, Dominic said this last night here. It doesn't seem that November carried any consequences. It didn't seem that it was the reality check that Republicans said, all right, we got to get somebody different here. We got to have different messaging. And it certainly didn't change the dialogue in Washington. And it didn't seem to change what was probably the same annual conference from a year ago. November didn't change much, it doesn't seem, in the GOP.
No, I disagree. I mean, this wasn't the Republican National Committee. This is CPAC. This is a conservative group of right-wing, really right-wing people who will have a Rick Santorum come speak for some ungodly known reason. They'll have Donald Trump speak. These aren't leaders in the Republican Party. The leaders of the Republican Party, the McDonalds, the Christies, et cetera, you know, the one real name that was there was Governor Walker out of Wisconsin. There are a couple smattered in there, but let's not confuse the Republican National Committee with CPAC.
I agree with you 100%. I remember this conference years ago. This isn't a new thing, but here's the difference. Yeah. We saw not just words, but actions. Guys, the Dick Lugers, for crying out loud, lose their jobs. Right. You have, look who was on the ticket here that lost in the South Carolinas and the Indianas, and then even the Orrin Hatches had to fight for their lives.
Right.
Their primaries now, if you don't toe the line and follow the party line, and there's real consequences if you break ranks at all, that's different than it was years ago.
I think that you are going to see, because of what we saw with the Murdochs and et cetera, you're going to see much different results coming forward. I think the average Republican voter is going to say, I need to get involved in primaries. People like myself, who may be a little bit more moderate, as opposed to the Murdochs of the world, et cetera, they're going to become actively engaged, and the people like Karl Rove and his PAC are going to say, enough of this nonsense. We cannot be dominated by CPAC and the nonsense that they throw out there.
Have you seen that, Evan?
Yeah, no, I got to disagree with Tom a little bit. I mean, first of all, Rick Santorum was the leader of the Republican Party for at least a few months last year, and he still has carved out a pretty big niche for himself. I think that he's serious, and a lot of the people that are there this week are obviously pandering to the base. They're trying to get the conservative vote. That's not good for Republicans. I'm very happy as a Democrat. I love watching this stuff. No, it's fantastic to watch.
And the people who attend CPAC, they're the true believers. They're the ones who show up, you know, they would be at batting practice 2 hours before the ball game, or they go on tour with the band because they love them so much. I mean, that's who CPAC is. Yeah. The equivalent movement on the left, the Netroots movement, doesn't have nearly the same push within the progressive movement that CPAC and the Tea Party have within the Republican Party, and that's a big problem.
That's not where the money is, though. The money is not at CPAC. The money is in it.
The Koch brothers and stuff aren't with these guys?
You know what? The Koch brothers didn't build a multi-billion-dollar business by nominating Rick Santorum. Yeah, I'm telling you, if Rick Santorum was ever the nominee of the Republican Party, 50% of the Republican Party would say, goodbye, I'm out of here. And I would lead the movement.
Well, that's another reason to be happy, though, if you're a Democrat, because you see people like Rand Paul doing his thing. You see people like Rick Santorum. You see them making strides, moving ahead, and splintering the party away from that more reasonable base.
But Andrew, we didn't hear.
He lost.
Back-to-back speakers were saying 180-degree different things. Maybe to Tom's point, there's a fraction in the party right now, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're not living in fear of saying the wrong thing and getting primaried. But, I mean, look at Bobby Jindal. I mean, he blew things up today. He said the GOP's got an obsession with zeros when it comes to budget battles today. And then, you know, you got one speaker saying one thing and then the other one saying something right after.
Somebody got the memo.
He said that. I mean, it seemed like there's a split agenda, at least for the people who are talking in CPAC. Some people are looking to the future. What's the future of the Republican Party? How do we go from here? And then you have a lot of people who are looking back and defending the status quo. I mean, Paul Ryan, who could be a leading contender in 2016 for the Republican nomination, didn't talk about the future. He talked about the present and the past. And you've had that from other...
But Tom, it was your point, though, last night. You said nothing changed. It's the first election you remember where it didn't mean anything.
And it hasn't. And it won't. And the chair of the Republican Party can go to the black community in Brooklyn all he wants to. People are not stupid. That's the one good thing about the electorate. Until real substance is put on the table, things will remain the same. The more they change, the more they remain the same. And as long as groups like this are around, Democrats will be in heaven, because no matter how much...
But you say that, but Dominic, here's my point. If I'm a Republican in a red state, why do I at all stick my neck out? As long as I agree with whatever comes out of the House, and Boehner's got the worst job, I think, in America, but as long as I toe the party line,
in the House,
I'm not getting primaried, and I'm not going to lose anymore with these gerrymandered seats. What is the incentive for me to say, well, the national numbers say they want gay marriage. The national numbers say that they want immigration reform. The national numbers say they want gun control. I do any of those things here, I'm going to get primary. And they're going to put money to beat me in my district. So why should they stick their neck out?
And that's exactly the problem that the party is facing right now. And that's exactly why the Republican Party is in the shape that it's in.
Well, wait a second. But one of the things you're missing here, though, is that let's look at Election Day when the president won a very large victory, okay? What are his poll numbers today? His poll numbers have taken a tank job over the fact that the Republicans took a stand on sequester and said we need to cut.
Which incumbent's poll numbers doesn't go down?
Okay, wait.
Not at this level. Not 3 months after the election. You're wrong about that, Dominic.
When we come back here, we're going to bring up to date on the Menendez story that does not go away. A twist here for the senator from New Jersey, and trust me, he doesn't like this one. We're going to have more on that, plus also some interesting political stories coming out, including a change of heart from a senator here after his son came to him and said, "Dad, I'm gay." We'll be right back.